What's going on, guys? Snaochat-APilukHockey here, back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn and the comments made by Jim Lites, the CEO of the Dallas Stars. Now, you guys are seeing the title and it says Benn and Seguin trade or something like that, but it has a question mark. Don't get all up in arms if you're a Stars fan or if you don't like the fact that I'm talking about this. The reason why I have a question mark there is because this isn't just a rumor where it's like, oh, they're gonna get traded. This is a full circle kind of weird thing that's happening, because this is kind of my response to what was said on Saturday's headlines last night by Elliotte Friedman, basically saying, if the Dallas Stars don't make the playoffs this season, what happens? Does Nil get fired as the general manager of the Dallas Stars? And then does that mean that the team gets blown up by a new GM, or maybe Nil just stays there and the team gets blown up and something happens? Or are they going to put more players around Benn and Seguin? So before you get too crazy with the Seguin and Benn trade, that's going to be something I get to in the video. But I want to kind of give all the information and come full circle and then look at the situation and talk about what happened on headlines. So I have a lot of information in here. You're going to want to stick around. There's a lot of cool stuff we're going to be going over with actual facts to show why the CEO of the Dallas Stars had made a lot of outlandish comments that made absolutely zero sense. And like I said, there's stats to back it up. Before I start the video, I'd also like to add that I'm doing something cool for my channel that's going to be done in 2019, probably early 2019. I'd really like you guys to get this video in. So what I want you guys to do is just film a short clip of yourself, and let's say your name is John Smith. So you'd say, my name is John Smith. I'm watching Snaochat-APilukHockey from Brampton, Ontario, if that's where you're from. So you basically just film a very short clip saying, I'm John Smith, I'm from Brampton, Okay, I'll make it easier for you guys. I always mess this up the second time I say it. All you gotta say is, I'm John Smith, I'm watching Snaochat-APilukHockey from Brampton, Ontario. So it's just a quick clip. Obviously, say your real name and where you're actually from, and then you just send it to me at the Andrew Piluk Sports Gmail account. So it's andrewpiluksports@gmail.com, and it's on the screen for you guys right now. Let's get into the video. Hopefully you guys will want to send that in. So I've got my laptop in front of me with all the stats, facts, everything that we need to know for this. So basically, just everybody's probably heard of it in the hockey world, but if you haven't, the Dallas Stars CEO, Jim Lites, basically was talking a lot of smack about the team, and more specifically, Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn. So some of the quotes that came out of this were that they are expletive, couple swear words. I don't know how else to put it. So these guys are not good enough, Lites said. Obviously talking about Benn and Seguin. They're not good enough for me, they're not good enough for the owner, and they're certainly not good enough for the general manager, Jim Nil, who I can't speak for, so we're not sure if he even said that. But it's not good enough for the job he's done. But we've had meeting after meeting. The accountability is on the ice. The accountability on the ice is not there. These guys were signed to big contracts because they were 3rd and 6th leading scorers in the National Hockey League over the last 5 years. They get their money. We expect them to not be outplayed every game that we play in. And if they were as good as they've been in the past, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So basically, Benn and Seguin responded to this by saying, you know, we don't play for him, like we play for our teammates, our coach, and all that stuff like that. And Kyprios said on Saturday's headlines that these guys were probably blindsided by it, and they weren't expecting something like that to happen. So at the time I'm recording this, or from the article I'm reading this on, Benn has 15 goals and 30 points through 38 games, and that's on pace for one of his lowest totals. His best season came in the 2015-16 season, where he had 41 goals and 89 points. So Seguin has 11 goals and 32 points, and he has the most points on the team, but that's outside of the top 50 in the league. And of course, he had a really good season last year. He was scoring lots of goals. So a lot of people are saying, will the NHL Players Association get involved, because this could be something that is, it does hurt a player, but it also is not really professional, and I think that's something that a lot of people are talking about. Now, another thing that's been discussed here is Gagliardi, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, he's the Dallas Stars owner, so he's above him. He said, our best players have to be our best players. This is not about trading anyone. This is not about firing anyone. We are in danger of missing the playoffs for the 3rd straight year, and this team is built to win and contend now. We need to take advantage of the opportunity we have in front of us. So this is the reason why I wanted to bring up the trade discussion. As you see there from the owner, he doesn't feel like a trade or a firing has happened, although there's been some contradicting points. Now, this is where it gets interesting that Elliotte Friedman brought it up, and this is where some of the trade stuff ties in, that the money does matter. Dallas, in terms of actual cash spent, they're at $85 million this year. It's one of the highest in the National Hockey League. So Benn accounts for $9.5 million against the Dallas Stars cap. He signed an 8-year deal in 2016, well, an extension that came into effect last year. Seguin's deal obviously will kick in next season. He's going to be earning $9.85 million. That will account, that will be on the cap. He's only worth $5.75 this year, but that takes a pretty significant bump next year. They're also apparently, Elliotte Friedman was told that Dallas is ranked 23rd in ticket sales, so the fans aren't showing up. That's obviously not good. This is what Friedman said. This is not from me. This is what he said. I think this is a sign of, if they don't make the playoffs this year, that all bets are off for the future of Dallas. It's desperation. So this doesn't exactly mean that, oh, well, now Benn and Seguin are going to get traded, but all bets are off means if the Dallas Stars don't feel like they want to build around Benn and Seguin, and if the CEO and all these people are starting to come together and say, well, we don't even want these guys as our core, they're going to get moved. Like this is what's going to happen. These guys are above the general manager. Like if they say, hey, listen, Jim, like, if you don't make these moves, you're going to be gone too. You never know if that's something that happens next year. I'm not saying it's a guarantee. Again, this is just for us to discuss and say, okay, maybe this could be something that happens, and Elliotte Friedman brought it up. Because also some of the quotes, if I'm not mistaken, were that the CEO, Jim Lites, was saying that he gets messages from other people, including the owner, saying, WTF. I'm not going to say these words on camera, but like, what's going on here? What's going on with Benn and Seguin? Let me just get into some points about what Elliotte Friedman said, and then I'm going to get into some contradicting stats that Jim Lites was talking about with Benn and Seguin. So, if we're talking about trade discussion here, first of all, it won't happen this year. If anything happens, this is what I think should happen. You've got a lot of people leaving this team next year. A little bit of cap money leaving. I believe Spets is going to be up. I think Radulov's still on a deal in Dallas. So whether or not you want to move Radulov is up to you, but I feel like they would want to keep him unless they really do want to retool. I would rather build around Benn and Seguin and bet that they're going to have better ends to their season, but they're also going to be good in the future. Now, we don't know if this is going to tick Benn and Seguin off to the point where maybe if they miss the playoffs again and they sit on it in the offseason and there's been no apology or anything, maybe these guys go, well, it looks like we're leaving. Like, if these guys don't want us here, like maybe the GM and the coaching staff does, but they could get fired easily just as much as we could get traded. So they could leave. There's multiple options here. They could leave in the offseason. Again, I'm not saying anything will happen now, but in the offseason, if they miss the playoffs and all this other stuff, you could see those two leave. That's not out of the question. You also could just flat out see them traded, which if they want to rebuild, maybe that's something that happens. But if you're 23rd in ticket sales, clearly the CEO, the owner, whatever, are not going to be happy with that. You probably want to hold on to Benn and Seguin because unless you're getting back some insanely good players, you're probably not going to be able to boost those ticket sales. So if I were them, I'd keep Benn and Seguin, and then everybody else, obviously they have like Heiskanen, whatever, they're young guys that they want to keep. But, some of their players that aren't really performing and players that they are a bit expendable, you're probably going to have to move those guys to bring in more talent. It's been said, it's a star-driven league. You need more stars to play around these guys. You need a better surrounding cast. That's what they're going to have to do. So let's get into more points here, and this, funny enough, it's from thepointhockey.com, who wrote an excellent article called Star CEO Wants Media to Write It. Problem, most of it isn't true. So a lot of what Jim Lites was saying was kind of BS if you really look at it, because there's stats to back it up. So let's just look at some of the stuff here. I don't want to read absolutely everything, but if you want to read the article, I hope I remember to put it in the description box. But if not, it's on my Twitter account. I tweeted about it. So this is what Lites was saying about Seguin. So, all right. So he said, He's hitting posts. Wah, wah. He literally said that. The CEO of an NHL team. That's what I say about hitting posts. Get a little bit closer to the action. Actually go to the spot where you score goals. He didn't do that. He never does that anymore. He used to be a pest to play against. People hated playing against Tyler Seguin. They don't anymore, which they still probably do. So anyways, he's basically saying he needs to get to the slot and score more goals, and he doesn't do that anymore. The area where you score goals is the inner slot, which 55% of all goals scored by forwards this season have come from that section of the ice. Now, again, he wrote this article a couple days ago, so that number could change just by a little bit. So Seguin is averaging 0.55 shots per game from the inner slot. That's down slightly, 0.7% from what he averaged last season. So the difference is about one inner slot shot every 7 games he plays. To say he never goes to this area is just ridiculous. As for the high slot, a slightly less dangerous area, but still a place Seguin can score from. Last season, he had 32.4% of Seguin's shot attempts came from that area. This season, it's at 31.6%. Again, there's literally no difference in these numbers, and this guy is just, making up numbers at this point. So the long shot of it is 44.1% of Seguin's shot attempts have come from the slot. That's down less than 2% from where he scored 40 last season. So again, I'm not sure how that's such a huge difference, but according to this guy, it is. So Tyler Seguin per game, again, percentage of shot attempts from the slot is 45.9% last season. This season, 44.1%. Not that much of a difference. Percentage of attempts from the inner slot last season was 13.6%. This season, 12.5%. And his goals per game last year was 0.49. This season, 0.29. This is where we get to the next thing. He's on pace for 26 goals, and that's 16 less than last year. But the point where he talked about, when he hits the post, whatever, which is ridiculous and unprofessional. Seguin has hit the post slash crossbar 11 times this season. That's 3 short of his total from last season in 44 less games. The luck factor is not with Seguin at this point. He leads the league in posts and crossbars hit. He also had 4 empty net goals last season. He has none this season. So he's obviously going to get going again. He's going to get some lucky breaks. He's going to score some empty net goals, and that's going to drive that total up. Like, why are we acting like Benn and Seguin are just going to not score goals and be crazy for the rest of the season? They're probably going to have good numbers by the end of the year. They're both really good players. So another stat that he talked about was Jamie Benn hasn't scored a goal from longer than 5 feet all year. So that's what the CEO said. So basically, this is what's happening. At any rate, it's true. 14 of Benn's team-leading 15 goals have come from below the hash marks. So he has scored from longer than 5 feet. As his median goal distance from this year is 6.3 feet from the net. It's splitting hairs, but Benn scored a majority of his 36 goals last season from in tight as well. His median goal distance last year was under 12 feet. So the second part about this, he says the guy who wrote this article says the second part of this Lights quote about Benn had recency bias all over it. So he's making plays in the neutral zone that if my kid had done in squirts, he'd be benched. Basically, his little kid. Am I wrong? He turned the puck over 3 times yesterday when this article was written on plays. If Stars rookie Denis Gurianov, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, had done that, he wouldn't have seen the light of day. So basically he's saying Benn is making mistakes that if a rookie did, that the rookie would be benched, and Benn obviously doesn't get benched for stuff like that. But let's just look at this. So Benn's play in the neutral zone in terms of turning the puck over hasn't been much different than last season. So in measuring how often a player turns the puck over based on his total possessions, we can calculate a player's turnover rate. Last season, Benn turned the puck over on 8.7% of his neutral zone possessions. This season, 9.3%. Again, not that much of a difference. That works out to about 1 more turnover for every 17 puck possessions. Again, that doesn't make much sense. So Now we're getting to this rookie. So Denis Gurianov shouldn't see the light of day, as Lights puts it, because Gurianov has the worst neutral zone turnover rate of any player on the Stars this season. So he conceding possession of the puck on 15.6% of his neutral zone possessions. So Gurianov also has the worst overall turnover rate on this team, coughing up the puck on almost 1 in every 4 possessions. So I don't understand how he's basically saying that Benn, you know, if Benn did that all the time, he'd be benched, when this you know, rookie or kid, whatever, on the Stars literally does that all the time. So you can't compare those numbers when Benn is actually much better. Of course, he's the captain of this team. He's a good hockey player. Just full circle, I don't think these guys are getting moved anytime soon unless they just request a trade and refuse to play, which they're not going to do that. The offseason is where it's going to get interesting if Dallas misses the playoffs again, because they haven't, what was it, 5 out of the last 6 or something like that. They haven't made the playoffs. They're not good enough to make the playoffs. They're going to have to get more stars, or they're going to have to start over. So let me know down below. Hopefully this video wasn't too long. Make sure, again, if you want to be a part of the video, of a video in 2019, check the beginning of this video to see how you can do that. Subscribe if you're new. I'd love to have more hockey conversations with you. Join the squad. Let's get to 4,000 subscribers and 5K and then 10K by 2020 or something like that. Jeez, this is getting crazy. I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Make sure to click that notification bell. Peace.